Okay, so I'm just going to field another question from Instagram from last week. So the question was conjugate methods, so kind of like a West Side template, versus linear programming for a novice or an intermediate. So if you don't know what conjugate is, just Google West Side barbell template. But basically, it's a week of training, and there's a cycle of exercises. There is a maximum effort for squat and deadlift, and that cycles week on week. There's speed effort for squat and deadlift, and that again cycles week on week, or they call it dynamic effort. And then there's a maximum effort for bench press, and a repetition effort, and a dynamic effort for bench press each week on the templates. You have a cycle of exercises, like say 4 to 10 exercises. So you're not doing the same lift week on week. So you're not trying to max your back squat every week because it's all out doing that. So a linear program is something where you would start with high reps, light weight, say 2 weeks of 10s, 2 weeks of 8s, 2 weeks of 6s, 2 weeks of 4s, 2 weeks of 3s, and then on to a max or a meet. So it's going from 10s, 12s for a set period of time. So a 12-week linear period, 10-week, 8-week, where we're starting with a low percentage and a high rep count, and over that time frame, as the intensity goes up, the volume goes down. So you can actually get a lot of this linear periodization in block training. So if you look at something like Juggernaut, where they do a hypertrophy block, followed by a strength block, followed by a peak, that's kind of like a linear periodization where we're doing high reps, high volume, low intensity for a block of time, somewhere in the middle for a block of time, and then somewhere towards the higher intensity side of things for a block of time. That could be termed as linear periodization. So those are the juxtaposition of the two. And the question was, which is better for a novice or an intermediate? So when it comes to what kind of training you should do as a novice or an intermediate, you need to think about where you are in a training standpoint. So for the first year of training, the majority of the strength training you're going to get is going to be neurological. So it's from learning how to move better, learning how to lift into the bar. The vast majority, certainly for the first six or so months, is going to be more or less skill learning, neurological, coordination, etc., etc. That's going to be where the strength gain comes from. It isn't until we get further down the line, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, when the training age goes up, that cross-sectional area, size of the muscle, becomes a bottleneck. So for West Side templates, it's kind of like, it's more akin to like an undulating periodization, like a weekly undulating periodization. There is some high intensity, there's some low intensity, high rep effort, and there's some stuff in the middle. And it's a template where you're trying to take an upward trajectory for a long period of time. That kind of training works really well for someone who is on steroids or who are enhanced, because the element of size, the element of growth is taken care of by the steroids. They're going to get bigger regardless of what they do, so something like conjugate method, West Side method is good for that, because it's heavily biased towards the intensity of the training. So it works quite well in that instance. For a novice, it's a terrible program to use. For an intermediate, it's not very good either. But I would say for natural trainers, it's not the best program anyway, because it's not really geared towards that kind of trainee. Someone who is a novice, you'd be much better taking more of a view of a practice. So something where there is higher reps, maybe higher sets, so more total lifts during the week is going to be a better use of your time. So something like a Boris Chico routine. He has a number of novice and intermediate programs. Something like that where you're going to get a lot more time with lower intensities to practice the movements and get better at it, but it's structured in a way where you're going to get stronger because there's higher intensities, more lifts. Something like that's going to be a lot more useful than something like Conjugate or West Side Method. Someone who's intermediate, you might want to play around with different approaches, but if you had to choose between like a linear periodization and a conjugate periodization, the linear periodization is going to give you a lot lot better, more stimulus. You're going to get some time to develop your musculature, hypertrophy, so you can get a block, 2 blocks, 8 weeks, 6 weeks, 4 weeks of 12 reps, 10 reps, lower intensities, so we get a chance to kind of actually build up a bit of muscle mass, build up a bit of fitness, and then we take advantage of that for a period of time, 8 weeks. So we maybe do a 4-week volume block followed by an 8-week intensification phase, or a strength block, peaking block, however you want to term it, it's an intensification. That's going to be a lot more fruitful than something like the West Side method or the conjugate system. Conjugate and West Side are better for, they're better for advanced lifters who know where they're going. So if you're multiply, single ply, a lot of the elements of the conjugate or the West Side template are geared towards that. So it could be a useful way of looking at it. It's not very popular with single ply lifters. It's not very popular with IPF lifters in general. And IPF tends to be single ply. There are some who use it, but mainly not. It's much more of a multiply sort of gig. And some strongmen use it, but not really that many. If you look at the lift multiply, it certainly has a lot of success with that, but that also might be a false equivalence because pretty much everyone who does multiply, or most people who do multiply probably use a West Side template. Now, there are a lot of people who've got very strong, use a conjugate method, so it works. But if it works better than other methods, depends on who you are, what your goals are, and what you're looking to get out of the training cycle. For a novice, linear is going to work pretty well, but you're probably going to be better suited to something like a Chico routine, one of his numbered routines, because you're going to get a lot of time under the bar. There's going to be a lot of reps, a lot of sets. The workouts are longer, but you're going to get you're going to get a larger chance to practice. There's a good variance in the selection of the exercise, so you're going to get a chance to practice different elements like tempos, pauses. They use chains and bands in the Chico routines as well, so it's quite a good program for a novice. For an intermediate, again, the Chico routine is probably a pretty good one, although the workouts are a bit longer, so if you don't want to spend so long with the workouts, then a program like Juggernaut method or like any powerlifting routine you're going to find out there is going to be pretty good for most novices. Like Barbell Medicine have a few, Juggernaut have a few, I have a few. So those kind of programs are probably going to be better suited. A linear routine is going to work fairly well. Linear routines work well. There's nothing wrong with them. If you want to do a linear routine, it works. West Side conjugate method, it does work, but you probably get better results with other training routines or other programs. It might be worth looking into if it's something that you are. So yeah, so for the novice or the intermediate, I would look outside of conjugate method. If you know exactly what you want from a program and conjugate method is going to deliver that, then by all means, knock yourself out. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.